Have you ever seen someone get laughed at, only for the tables to turn so hard the room fell completely silent? Well, this is the story of Ms. Evelyn Carter, a quiet, elderly black woman who walked into a bank one sunny afternoon, only to be mocked, humiliated, and dismissed by the very people who were supposed to serve her. But little did they know, this woman wasn't just any grandma. She was about to reveal something that would leave the entire bank staff frozen in shock. And the arrogant manager who laughed in her face would soon realize his career was about to shatter in seconds. But before we dive in, quick question. Do you love seeing arrogance get crushed and truth revealed? Then hit like right now, and if you love your mom, smash that subscribe, because we bring you powerful stories every single day. Alright, let's step inside the bank with Ms. Evelyn. Evelyn Carter was 72 years old. Her silver grey hair framed her face in soft curls, and she carried herself with quiet dignity. She wasn't wearing designer clothes. Just a simple faded floral dress, comfortable shoes, and a handbag that had clearly seen better days. To the outside world, she looked like an ordinary, struggling grandmother. And that was exactly why the bank tellers thought they could dismiss her. It all began when Evelyn walked up to the front desk and softly said, "Good morning, dear. I'd like to make a withdrawal." The young teller behind the glass, a sharp-dressed woman in her 20s, looked her up and down. Her lips curled into a smirk. "A withdrawal?" she repeated. "And how much are we talking, ma'am?" Evelyn gave a small smile. "Quite a bit." The teller's smirk grew wider. She leaned closer to her co-worker beside her and whispered just loud enough for Evelyn to hear. "Probably $30 for her groceries." They both laughed. Evelyn didn't flinch. She just stood patiently, clutching her handbag. The teller asked for her account number. Evelyn handed over her card. The teller typed it in, still wearing that mocking grin. And then something happened. The teller's eyes widened. Her grin vanished. She blinked twice at the screen. But instead of apologizing, she quickly minimized the account window, almost like she was hiding something. But Evelyn noticed. She tilted her head slightly. "Is something wrong, dear?" The teller stiffened. "I know, but for transactions this size, you'll need to speak with the manager." She called out. A man in a sharp suit, tall, arrogant, came striding out of the glass office. His name was Mr. Dawson, the branch manager. He looked Evelyn up and down with thinly veiled disdain. "Is there a problem here?" The teller smirked again. "This woman wants to make a large withdrawal." Mr. Dawson raised an eyebrow. "Large, huh? Well, let's see it." He gestured Evelyn toward his office. She followed quietly. The other tellers watched with amused faces. Some even chuckled, as if expecting Evelyn to be turned away. What they didn't know was that the harmless old grandma, in front of them, was about to flip their world upside down. Inside the office, Mr. Dawson leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled, smirking. "So, Mrs. Carter, how much money are you looking to withdraw?" Evelyn's eyes twinkled with quiet confidence. She spoke one number, and the smug manager's smirk instantly froze. The air inside Mr. Dawson's office grew heavy. He had expected Evelyn to ask for a few hundred, maybe even 1,000. But the number she whispered across his polished mahogany desk. It wasn't thousands. It wasn't tens of thousands. It was $250,000. $250,000. The manager blinked. He leaned forward, thinking he must have misheard. "Excuse me? Did you say $250,000? Evelyn nodded calmly. "Yes, dear. In cash, please." For a moment, Dawson's smirk faltered. Then, just as quickly, it returned. He chuckled and shook his head. "Ma'am, with all due respect, you must be confused. You can't possibly have that kind of money sitting in your account." Evelyn tilted her head, her soft smile never leaving her face. "Are you sure about that?" Dawson spun his computer monitor toward him and pulled up her account, expecting to prove her wrong. But when the numbers appeared, he froze. His jaw went slack. His smug expression dissolved into shock. Because staring back at him on the screen was an account balance of $11,472,963.27. Over $11 million. The manager swallowed hard. This frail old woman, this nobody, in a faded floral dress, was a multimillionaire. Suddenly, his palms began to sweat. He glanced up at her, but Evelyn just sat quietly, hands folded in her lap, watching him with those knowing eyes. Outside the office window, the two young tellers were still giggling, whispering to each other. But inside, Dawson's world had just flipped upside down. "Mrs. Carter," he stammered. "Why didn't you mention this earlier?" Evelyn raised her eyebrows. Should I have needed to? You're a bank, aren't you? You're supposed to treat every client with respect. Whether I had $10 or 10 million. Her voice was gentle, but it cut through Dawson like a blade. If you believe everyone deserves respect no matter their background, type respect in the comments right now. Let's see how many people agree. The manager cleared his throat, forcing a smile. Of course, of course. My apologies, Mrs. Carter. We'll get that withdrawal processed right away. But Evelyn leaned back in her chair, her expression unchanging. Not so fast. Before I take my money, I'd like to know something. Dawson blinked. Know what? Evelyn's gaze flicked toward the window, toward the tellers who had mocked her. I'd like to know why your employees laughed at me. Why they whispered about me, as if I was beneath them. The color drained from Dawson's face. Mrs. Carter, I assure you. But she held up a hand. No excuses. I heard them. And so did the other customers in the lobby. Dawson shifted uncomfortably in his chair. He knew she was right. The truth was, this branch had a culture of arrogance, especially toward customers who didn't look wealthy. And he had encouraged it. But now, he realized this nobody had the power to destroy his entire career. Meanwhile, Evelyn wasn't finished. She opened her handbag, pulled out a small envelope, and slid it across the desk. Dawson hesitated, then opened it. Inside was a formal letter from the bank's corporate office. His eyes scanned it, and his blood ran cold. Because it wasn't just any letter. It was an official notice, appointing Mrs. Evelyn Carter as one of the bank's largest private investors. She wasn't just a customer. She was technically his boss. For a moment, Dawson couldn't breathe. His chest tightened. His vision blurred. This woman he had mocked, had the power to report him directly to the executives, the ones who signed his paychecks. And judging by the icy calm in her voice, she wasn't afraid to use that power. Evelyn leaned forward, her soft voice steady. Now, Mr. Dawson, tell me again, how much respect do you show your customers? Dawson swallowed hard, beads of sweat trickling down his forehead. More than ever, Mrs. Carter. I assure you, this was a terrible mistake. But Evelyn's eyes didn't soften. No, dear, she said firmly. It wasn't a mistake. It was a choice. And choices have consequences. The silence in Dawson's office felt suffocating. The hum of the air conditioner. The faint tapping of a clock on the wall. Every sound was louder, because Dawson's own heartbeat pounded in his ears. Evelyn Carter sat across from him, calm as ever. Her eyes, deep, steady, and unblinking, pinned him to his chair. Finally, she spoke. I'm not here today just to withdraw money. I came to see if your bank deserves to keep handling it. Dawson's stomach sank. Mrs. Carter, please, I assure you. She raised a hand, silencing him. You see, when I walk into a place, I notice everything. The way people look at me. The way they whisper. The way they dismiss me before I've even said a word. Her voice softened, but her words carried weight. Do you know how many years I've lived with that, Mr. Dawson? How many times people decided who I was based on my skin, or my clothes, or my wrinkles? Dawson shifted in his chair, unable to look her in the eyes. Evelyn continued. Now, today, you and your staff had a choice. You could have treated me with dignity. Instead, you chose arrogance. Her hand slid the envelope with the corporate seal closer to him. I own more stock in this bank than you realize. Which means, I get a say in how this branch is run. So, here's what we're going to do. Dawson's throat tightened. What do you mean? Evelyn leaned forward, her voice low and deliberate. You are going to call those 2 tellers into this office. Right now. In front of me. And you're going to ask them exactly what they said about me. Then, you're going to make them apologize. Publicly. Dawson blinked, stunned. Mrs. Carter, surely, we can handle this quietly. Her eyes narrowed. Quietly? That's what you want, isn't it? To sweep your disrespect under the rug. No, dear. Not this time. Today, everyone in this bank will learn a lesson. For a moment, Dawson considered resisting. But then he glanced again at the balance glowing on his screen. $11 million. If she pulled that money out, the branch's numbers would collapse. His career would be over. Slowly, reluctantly, he nodded. Yes, Mrs. Carter. I'll call them. Minutes later, the door opened. The 2 tellers shuffled in, still smiling faintly, until they saw Evelyn seated across from Dawson, her posture regal, her eyes sharp. Their smiles faltered. Dawson cleared his throat. His voice was tight. Ladies, Mrs. Carter has informed me that some unprofessional comments were made earlier. Would you like to explain yourselves? The two women exchanged nervous glances. We were just joking around, one mumbled. Evelyn leaned forward, her voice cool and steady. Say it louder, dear. What did you say about me? The taller teller flushed. We said you probably didn't have any money. That, you looked like you didn't belong in here. The other swallowed. And that maybe you were lost. The room went quiet. Evelyn didn't flinch. She simply nodded. Thank you for your honesty. Now, here's the important part. Are you sorry? The tellers looked at Dawson nervously. He gave them a hard glare. Yes, Mrs. Carter, they said in unison, heads lowered. We're sorry. But Evelyn wasn't satisfied. Sorry to me? Or sorry you got caught? The words hit them like a hammer. One of the women's eyes welled with tears. Both, she whispered. Evelyn finally leaned back. You see, I don't want your pity. I don't need your tears. I need you to understand something. Never judge someone by how they look. You don't know their story. You don't know their worth. Her voice rose, carrying authority that silenced the room. I could have taken my money and left today. But instead, I'm choosing to teach you. Because one day, another woman will walk in here, maybe without much in her account. And she deserves respect just as much as I do. If you believe respect should be given to every person, no matter their appearance, type respect first in the comments. Let's spread this message worldwide. The tellers nodded, faces red, unable to meet her gaze. Evelyn stood, slowly, gracefully. She adjusted her handbag strap on her shoulder and turned back to Dawson. As for you, Mr. Dawson, consider this your warning. I'll be reporting this incident directly to corporate. Whether you keep this job or not will depend on how you change things here. Dawson's face went pale. He tried to speak, but Evelyn's calm voice cut him off one last time. And one more thing. Don't ever mistake humility for weakness. With that, Evelyn Carter walked out of the office. The tellers, the manager, the entire lobby, all eyes turned toward her. But this time, no one laughed. No one whispered. They watched in silence as she stepped out of the branch, like a queen leaving her throne room. Outside the bank, the sunlight felt warmer, brighter. Evelyn Carter paused on the steps, her fingers brushing the railing. She should have felt anger. She should have felt bitterness. But instead, she felt peace. Because for the first time in years, she hadn't stayed quiet. She hadn't let someone's judgment slide. Today, she had demanded respect. And she got it. Inside the bank, Dawson collapsed into his chair, sweat dripping down his forehead. The tellers whispered nervously behind the door. And in the lobby, customers murmured. Some shook their heads in shame. Some smiled softly, realizing they had just witnessed something unforgettable. Meanwhile, Evelyn made her way to the curb, where a sleek black car waited. The driver stepped out immediately, opening the door with a respectful bow. Mrs. Carter, he said warmly. Everything taken care of? Evelyn gave the faintest smile. Oh yes. More than taken care of. She slid into the back seat. But before the car pulled away, she reached into her handbag and pulled out her phone. Her fingers moved gracefully, dialing a number labeled Corporate HQ. A young voice answered cheerfully. Good afternoon, Carter Financial Group headquarters. How may I direct your call? Evelyn's lips curved. This is Evelyn Carter. Patch me through to the board, please. The line went silent for a moment, then quickly filled with urgency. Yes, Mrs. Carter. Right away. Within minutes, Evelyn was on a secure video call with 3 sharply dressed executives seated at a long table. One leaned forward. Mrs. Carter, is everything all right? We weren't expecting to hear from you today. Evelyn's voice was calm, but firm. I visited one of our branches. The staff disrespected me. They laughed, they mocked, and the manager allowed it. Now, I could have walked away quietly. But I believe our company stands for more than profits. We stand for integrity. The executives exchanged tense glances. Evelyn continued. I want that manager reviewed. I want mandatory training at every branch. And I want it clear. From the CEO to the janitor, every person deserves respect. Her words hit like thunder. One executive nodded slowly. Understood, Mrs. Carter. Consider it done. She ended the call, leaned back in her seat, and closed her eyes. For her, this wasn't just about revenge. It was about legacy. Friends, let me ask you, if Evelyn's stand inspired you, hit like right now. And if you believe respect must always come before judgment, subscribe so you never miss these powerful stories. The car drove on, and Evelyn's mind drifted back. Back to the little girl she once was, standing outside fancy restaurants that wouldn't let her in. Back to the years of cleaning houses, serving tables, raising children that weren't her own. Always invisible, always underestimated. And now, she was the one holding the pen that signed checks. She was the one whose name made men in suits go pale. Life had come full circle. Meanwhile, the very next week, a notice went up at Dawson's branch. Mandatory training. Respect first program. All staff required. Customers noticed. The community noticed. And the tellers? They never forgot the lesson Evelyn Carter had taught them. That behind every person's face, behind every wrinkle, behind every outfit, there might be a story worth more than gold. Months later, Dawson himself was quietly replaced. And in his office chair? A young woman of color, promoted from another branch. Smart, kind, sharp as steel. Her first act as manager? Hanging a framed quote on the wall. Never mistake humility for weakness. Evelyn Carter. Evelyn never set foot in that branch again. She didn't need to, because her presence lingered there. In every interaction. In every respectful good afternoon, ma'am. In every cautious smile from staff who had learned their lesson. The truth was simple, and it echoed like a drumbeat in every heart that had witnessed that day. Respect isn't earned by wealth or power. It's given because we are all human. And Evelyn Carter? She had reminded them of that truth. Not with anger, not with revenge, but with grace that no money could buy.